Earthquakes are measured with a machine called a seismograph. A seismograph records ground movements caused by earthquakes, explosions, or other earth-shaking phenomena. It measures ground oscillations by recording the relative motion between pendulum and the ground. Recovery plan. Recovering from a disaster is a slow-moving process that gets better after time. The main focus is safety. You don't want to move seriously injured people after the disaster, unless they are in immediate danger. Make sure you get enough rest, eat well, and don't do too much at a time. You should watch out for washed out roads, contaminated buildings, contaminated water, gas leaks, broken glass, damaged electric wiring, and slippery floors.
Volcanoes are formed at divergent plate boundaries where the crust breaks apart and allows lava to flow through. They're also formed at convergent plate boundaries where one plate goes underneath the other and lava bubbles up. Earthquakes are formed at pretty much any plate boundary when the plates interact with each other. Tsunamis are formed when an earthquake or volcano happens and it stirs up the water. Tokyo, Japan needs a disaster management plan because it is on the edge of a plate boundary. Plate boundaries cause all three types of these disasters.
When a tsunami is formed, it is because there is an underwater earthquake that moves a large volume of water upwards, and the only place that the water can go is to the sides. This movement of water is called a tsunami. If this wave gets big enough, then it can do some serious damage. Since we have Tokyo as our city, then it is very easy to get hit by a tsunami. And since it is on an island, then it would be very isolated, which means that a big enough tsunami can go from one end of the island to the other and wipe everything out in its path.
How volcanoes affect Earth systems. It affects by the atmosphere because it gets the atmosphere full of ash and releases new gases. The hydrosphere is affected because it gets murky and muddy from the ash. The lithosphere gets covered in ash and magma comes up and new lithosphere comes. With the biosphere, ash blocks out the sun and the plants can't photosynthesize, may burn things, and animals and people can choke on ash.
P waves, also called compressional waves or primary waves, it moves the material by squeezing and stretching the material in the same direction as the wave is moving. S waves, also called shear waves or secondary waves, it moves material at right angles to wave direction. Some nearby volcanoes that could affect the city of Japan by lava flows or ash falls are Niijima, Akagi-san, Seosan, and Natsuki.
Pre-disaster plan. Supplies: extra water, canned food or non-perishable foods, basic staples such as salt, sugar, or foods like that, an extra supply of portable bathrooms, doctors that are ready to work when the disaster happens, policemen, firemen, and ambulances ready to go when the disaster happens, extra clothing for the people, medical equipment like wheelchairs and medicine, personal hygiene items like toothbrushes and toothpaste, toilet paper and soap, and shampoo. The people in the disaster area should always keep their ID with them and probably want things like money or credit cards to supply what they don't have.
Alright, the show goes on all night till the morning we dream.